Alright. Hey everyone. Welcome. Sorry a little bit sorry about starting a little bit late. So we're gonna be following some games. So what we missed was a Derek win. So yeah, we can go back there in a minute. But these games are in time trouble, so let's go to them. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I think uh, if you're watching the stream, hope you're excited about today. So far it looks like it's 1-1. But we're gonna stick with Ernesto's game here for a minute. Now, Ernesto wasn't able to go to the second place match yesterday, so I know he's ready for a fight today. And let's see. So Ernesto's with the white pieces. So it looks like maybe he's struggling a little bit, but if there's one thing I know about Ernesto, it's he can turn the game around like that. So, I mean, he did it last time. It looks tough, though. This one might not be so easy to turn around. I think I see. Yeah, this one might. Oh! Oh! He turned it around! That was a queen! Let's go! Let's go, Ernesto! Let's go! Okay, still not so easy to convert, but oh, okay. Okay, I think that was just mate in one. Queen here was mate. But it's okay. It's still very winnable. Okay, check, nice. Alright, now check. It's not so easy. Okay, maybe it is. But like, okay, the pawn's pushing. Alright, alright. We like it. Threatening mate on h1. Still h1, pick up the knight. Okay, now it should be easy conversion. Bring the queen back to h1. Okay, it is fine too. Don't take the pawn with the queen. That's stalemate. Gotta be careful about that. Nice trick, though, by his opponent. Alright, we're gonna go to the other game, because I think Ernesto, yep, he has this one won. Amazing turnaround. Okay, so now it's a rabbit. 6-1. That's Alan. Alan's a very strong player. Also very tricky. Very tricky. And that's the one thing he's probably the best at. So, let's see. Low on time, though. Both of them are. But position is actually very complicated. And these bishops look very menacing. Oh, okay, something went wrong. I don't know what. The engine didn't like it, though. Oh, the rook's hanging. This rook's hanging, right? I mean, okay, it's a check. That's why you couldn't pick it up. But still, it's kind of dangerous. After check, what do you do? Oh, I think the idea was to give a check here and then like try and move the bishop in. And it would have been a pin on the queen to the king. Let's see. Now maybe, let's see. I don't know. There are a lot of things to consider. Check, okay. It's just not much time and a lot's going on. But great time management by Alan. Check. But there's nothing concrete, is there? Block with the bishop or run? Okay, run. Alright. All of a sudden, Engine says he's better. And he's up on time, so this could be very good. Oh man, he picks up a pawn. Nice. And the problem is that White's attack has kind of gone away. This Black King is actually really safe on b5. So, not bad. And he's up 3 pawns now. So, it's going to be kind of difficult. Okay, yes. Yes. Protect the pawn. That's why he pushed there. And also starts getting the pawn rolling. We're going to make a queen. I love it. Okay. He gives up a rook, but look at how the pawn is going. So maybe not the best idea to give the rook, but not sure what else he could do. Okay, so 3 pawns, down a rook, but up on time, so we'll see. You gotta protect the pawns somehow. How are you doing it? Queen g6? Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tricky. Alright, but you have to push. Yep. Alright. And now, if these pawns fall, though, then I think it's game over, but as long as you can hit the pawns on the board, it's gonna be very tricky for Max here to try and do anything, so we'll see. Let's make sure, yep, we're streaming. Awesome. Oh no! And he hangs the queen! Oh no! Oh, Alan! Okay, he'll play on. If I know Alan, he'll play on. He doesn't give up. Oh, never mind. In this position, though, I mean, you're down a queen, and you're probably a little bit tilted in a sense because you're upset. But okay, let's go ahead and see the score here. Let's reload the page. It's 2-2. Okay. And looks like the next round is starting, so no time for looking back at old games. So, oh, whoops. still following all the games. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this one looks like we're gonna keep an eye on this game to start. It's Nick Sylvester against Chess Jawa. So as much as I like Star Wars, I have to say, let's go Nick. Alright. And Nick always plays these really complicated positions that like it's really hard to figure out what's going on. And so it's perfect because like everyone gets low on time and then it's a time scramble. It's really exciting chess. So um, even if we leave this game at some point, which we will soon probably check out the other games, we'll come back to it and it'll be chaos. So that's always fun. So hey, if you're playing higher rated players like Nick is here, then it's absolutely a good approach to use if you're able to calculate it through. And wow, I mean, he's reached over 2,000. I think that's his new high, so big congrats to Nick. Alright, let's just check out the other games going on here. Let's check out Ernesto's games. So Ernesto, like, always finds these tricky tactics at the end, so. But, you know what? It's a middle game, and if he can make it somewhat even in the middle game, I think he'll be doing really, really well. Um, we'll see, though. I don't know. It's not always easy. What you want, okay, so in this position, kind of an issue I guess you're having with black, and this is often a problem in like queen's pawn openings, for example, is this bishop. So this bishop on c8 is like completely blocked in on this diagonal, and this diagonal is not so great either. So how is it going to move? So a lot of times what you want to do is make a move like bishop c7 and then maybe, or no, bishop d7 and then bishop c6, try and get it onto this diagonal, but that takes some moves, or yeah, just straight away there to go bishop b7, and take away some squares on the queen side from white, and that way you can like move your queen up to like d7 and then connect your rooks. And that connecting your rooks is always important in chess, so they defend each other. So, but the whole reason why white's evaluation is so good here is this pawn here completely controls black. Also, black's having trouble with this bishop. This bishop isn't so great either. So even though white looks somewhat undeveloped here, black's somewhat cramped. So that's an issue. But I like the move b5 a lot because it frees up the b7 square for the bishop. And yeah, there we go. Bishop b7. Looks like the engine's top move for exactly that reason. Although trading, also good. Open up the diagonal a little bit before you put your bishop there. I like it. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything concrete yet for white, so maybe engineer doesn't mean that much. But yeah, bishop b7 I think will be played. Alright, moving on a little. Let's see Derek's game. So Derek, again, just like the time management god. I mean, this man, whenever it comes down to it, right? Like he will play really well, and not only really well, he'll play really fast. So at the end of any game, and I've experienced it so many times against him, at the end of any game, you're against him. Maybe even the position is somewhat equal. Somehow, maybe you have an equalish position against him every once in a while, but it doesn't matter because he's gonna have more time than you, and you're gonna make mistakes at the end, and you're gonna lose in a blitz game. Um, and if it were a classical game, I mean, he'll just have a better position than you in the first place. All right, so that's Derek, and already we kind of see that happening here. Like Max has an okay position. I mean, this bishop looks good. The queen side looks like White's trying to like break up the pawn structure on the queen side with a minority, and that's often the case. You'll have like a minority attack. But here, yeah. Also, this long bishop, long diagonal bishop here, the dark square bishop for black is not contested anymore because the bishop gets traded off. And I think that's part of the reason why the engine prefers black to white here. But it's not so simple. I mean, it's still somewhat equal, and again, a big time advantage for Derek, and I think that could bode very well for him. And it's still a pretty equal game. So, moving on, let's go to Alan's game. So, I kind of want to see Alan's game. So let's see this one. So Alan is playing with white here. So there's some tactics in this position. Wow. Okay, so his rook is hanging, but you have a piece. Um, maybe knight d7 is an option. Attack the rook, try and get out of all the problems, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so that's why he plays. Or yeah, knight d7. And there we go. And now, okay, so either you move the knight away. I think you have to move the rook. Rook b1 has to be played. hit the pawn and give up the knight because you're already put the piece, so you have to give it up. Okay, he gives a check, but still, bishop takes, and now, yeah. And unfortunately, in this position, he's going to have to not grab a pawn as well. Because, for example, just pawn takes a3. Or, yeah, the b pawn is going to take the a pawn, and black, I think, is going to be up a pawn. Yeah, it'll be 4 to... Actually, it'll be 4, so maybe not. But the problem is this is a passed pawn, and it's supported by this one. So maybe after like pushing here, then pushing here, or something, after you get your rook over to b8, maybe black has a slight advantage. This is an endgame, and I think, okay, it's kind of equal. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on this game. But let's go back to Nick's game. Again, Nick, always really exciting at the end. Okay, so he's down a piece here. Something happened. We can go back through it. A lot of complications. He trades, and then he just runs into a problem. Oh, this is so difficult. This knight is really stuck, and then if you bring it back, you just... The problem is this pawn is pinned, so you can't take, because after the rook takes here, as we see in the game, if you take back, you're losing your queen. So, okay. And yeah, he plays the Sicilian here, always fighting chess with Nick. And even now, it's not over yet. He's down on time, he's in a worse position, but I would not count him out anyway. Okay, now it's going to be really hard to win, because his opponent forces a rook trade. Once the rooks come off the board, there are no tricks in the position, and it's almost impossible to win. So I think this one is not going so well for Nick, and he resigns. Alright, Ernesto here. So Ernesto, again, in a little bit of a worse position, but this is something we see a lot with Ernesto, is that his position is a little bit dubious, right? Maybe not so great. But he finds ways to make counterplay in the end, and you never know. So he's down a piece here, but in the last game we saw, he was down a piece as well. So not necessarily saying much. And he played in the Yakin's defense, which I actually haven't seen from him before, but always exciting and always good to bring some new tricks to the table. So good for him. And maybe not the best position, but we'll see. Let's go to Derek's game. So Derek, actually, I'm surprised. So a little bit by the time here, it's closer than I would expect. He's up on time by 45 seconds, so it's kind of funny I'm saying that. But that's the thing about Derek. Very, very, very fast. And very good. But the position looks actually pretty equal. Even just ignoring the engine for a minute, I think black is maybe to be preferred a little bit, because you have these open lines for your rooks. Okay, maybe your rooks aren't connected yet, but like here, you're attacking the queen. This bishop, I think, is better than white's bishop, but at the end of the day, they're opposite color bishops. So if the heavies come off the board, so you trade off some rooks, you trade off the queens, you have the bishops on the board still, it's a draw. And so ultimately, it's pretty equal, but I think if anyone has a slight advantage here, it's black. But we'll see. Okay, so this move, I'm not sure. So the one issue that I have with how black played this, and again, I think it's very strong still, is that the queen is kind of stuck here, defending this rook, right? For black. And I think what I would have liked to have done was for black, if I were black, were to seize these open files when I had the chance, when these rooks were back on the back ring. Maybe move the queen out and try and seize, like, when the rooks were here and here, try and move the queen out, and then get my other rook from, like, here, other direction of the arrow. But yeah, that's the idea. But okay, this makes sense. He's going for a repetition, and I don't think Derek will take it, especially with the match situation as it is, because we're kind of maybe in a little bit of trouble. And of course, Derek wants to win, so don't necessarily expect him to take that. But we'll see. I'm not sure if he has much choice. But maybe he can dance like queen b3, queen a2, dance away. We'll see. Okay, so he moves the queen away, which makes sense. He's a higher rated player. He wants to win, of course. Okay, let's move on back to Alan's game. So Alan actually way up on the clock, so that's good. Unfortunately, the position is not so promising. It is 4 pawns each, but these pawns here on the king side, or on the queen side rather, for black are really, really rolling. So we'll see, but hopefully the time pressure will get to Alan's opponent a little bit. Although, yeah, it's not Not so easy. And I don't know. I'm not really sure what to say here. I think like if white had a couple moves on the king's side, maybe he could start pushing. But it's not a simple thing to do. You can't do it yet. Because if you start already, then the problem is the king's going to run up the board. And the king's going to run here, and at some moment maybe he'll pick up this pawn. The rook's going to go here, defend this one, and then you're going to be able to push here. And that's the issue. So yeah, I like the choice by Alan. Just like start playing on the king side and hope that like you make enough counterplay where this rook has to stay over here, and then this maybe the king can't get in for black. And maybe if the rook has to go over to the king side, your king can actually dance over here somehow. Because the problem is right now the rook just cuts him off. So that's an issue. Okay, and unfortunately Ernesto's game looked like ends in resignation for Ernesto, as at the end of the match, the problem is this knight is just too strong, and the queen and rook here on the 7th rank, you know what they say, like, rook on the 7th heaven, or rook on 7 heaven, you know, for a reason. I mean, it just controls everything, and the queen here as well. So the problem is that at some moment, the knight's just going to take the pawn, move away, this pawn's going to be hanging, and it's going to be impossible to defend, and there's no counterplay, is the issue. And there's no counterplay because you can't even take the pawn here, because the knight just defends it. So it's really, really hard. There's going to be no perpetuals or anything in the position, so Ernesto resigns. Alright, going back, okay, looks like Alan actually created the counterplay he needed. This pawn's going to fall, but this pawn's going to push, and the problem is, if you manage to get pushing, I'm not sure actually how you have to play this, but there is a certain, okay, so here's the idea. Is white's going to try and give up this pawn? Oh, wait, white's winning. White's winning. Wait, what? The discover check! Oh my goodness, what a tactic! What a tactic! And he's seeking a queen? Okay, wait, you have to be careful with this. Okay, so, I'm not sure which move over is right, but I don't think you can bring the rook back. If you bring the rook back, then just a2, and then queen with defend the queen. So, okay, I think you have to queen first, and try and play this endgame, or play check first, with a similar idea. But wow, what an exciting tactic. I missed it. Apparently his opponent missed it too. This check, wow, wins the rook on the spot because you have to pick up the pawn, and the rook is hanging at the end of it. But he queens. Okay, so we're going to have a queen and rook against a queen and a pawn, but he brings a queen into the game with check, which is always important. Let's also check Derek's game, so that one's in big time pressure. And unfortunately for Derek, the position does not look that great, but Engine says it's fine, which is interesting, because it looks like black has a pretty strong attack. But actually, white is up the exchange, and also way up on the clock. Oh, almost flagged him. So, we're going to see. Also, kind of curious what's going on in this game. So we're going to be switching back and forth. Okay, the pawn's pushing. How do you stop it? Can you take? Can you take the pawn? Could you? Maybe, actually. Okay. But somehow there has to be some way. He's going for some tricks here. Try and pick up the queen or the pawn, which I think is the only way to play this. Okay, Derek actually way lower on time than I think I've ever seen him. Okay, nice. Picks up the pawn. Again, notice the pin, so you can't take, you couldn't have taken it. The bishop here, he's going for some tricks here with check. We'll see. And he does. He plays that exactly. So check. I think you have to give a check, yep. And it says draw, and I don't really think that... I think this position actually might end in a draw, because this is almost a fortress. It's almost impossible to break through. Even if you trade rooks, I don't think that white has an easy path to victory. And black is certainly worse here. The one fighting for a win is white, but I don't see a way to win for white. So, we'll see. But honestly, I think there's a good chance it ends in a draw, but time pressure is very real here. And so, maybe Derek can find a way to break through. But I'm not seeing it. Oh, it looks like Alan actually won his game, so we'll check out how that ended. But wow, big turnaround in that game. Looked like for the entire game his opponent was pushing, but he found a way through. Amazing. And in this one, okay, we're seeing the end of it. Hopefully, Derek finds a way, but it's not looking so easy. Okay, so maybe, yeah, rook b7. You have to get your rooks on the 7th rank. Like we've mentioned before, always a good thing to do. Except when it's not. But almost always. And again, there's really just... It's really tough to break through this defense, because this pawn's defended. This pawn isn't defended at the moment. But you couldn't take it, probably, because you're just losing this pawn. And after that, it's probably a draw. But yeah, this pawn's defended, this king's pretty safe, this pawn's defended, the bishop's defended. There's nothing to attack that's easy to attack because you have these rooks here, and in order to get anything, you'd have to give up a rook, and at that point, it's just a draw. But okay, looks like he's trying to find a way through. This could be interesting. Maybe he's gonna like trade off the rook somehow. But okay, black doesn't allow it. And now you have to be careful a little bit. Because if you allow checks, then the problem is, I don't know. Look like maybe you're giving up the rook, but this is actually a very clever maneuver, allowing your king to get away. But maybe we'll reach 50 move rule at some point, because there's not been many pawn moves in a while. Or captures, for that matter. And, oh no! Did he blunder? Okay, there was a moment there where Derek blundered, but again, still low on the clock. These things happen. I didn't even see it, but and you did. Oh no! So the problem is right here. This is actually being threatened, and it's going to be mate. So he has to give up the exchange. So very reasonable decision there, because if you don't give up the exchange there, you're just getting mated. So only choice was to give up that. And now black is pushing for a win, but maybe there's still a draw. Some drawing chances. But I think, yeah, Derek has to take the pawn and try and draw this, which, again, I don't really see an easy way to draw this. So maybe black's winning now. Okay, probably rook g5. But, okay, after rook g5, king f4. Huh. I'm not sure. I don't really see it. I don't see it for Derek at all. Oh, yeah, the problem now is it's just rook g8. Check, pick up the rook, trade, and queen the pawn. And now black's winning. And it's just mate. On move 100, so at least he got to move 100. So that's exciting. But unfortunately for Derek, well fought, but after round 2, unfortunately for UFA, it looks like we're in a little bit of trouble now. I know if anyone can win, it's us. But after round 2, it looks like we're down 5-3. So not the best start we wanted, not the start we wanted. But I have seen us in worse positions. So UFA, very strong team. So I think we can make a comeback. Let's go UFA. Let's go UFA. Come on. Everyone cheer. Yeah. Alright, so here we see a French defense. So that's Derek's game. We'll stick with this for a minute, and then ultimately we'll move on to something else. But first, yeah, we see a French, and classic French bishop, which he actually manages to free, which is unusual in the French. Usually this bishop, this light square bishop, which you also see mentioned earlier in Queen's Pawns openings, can be a problem, but actually also in the French, it's most known for having problems. But here, it actually gets free, which is very, very good. So actually, I think black out of the opening is better than almost ever is in the French. So really like the position, and we'll come back to it later. And that's why his opponent has to go ahead and think, because something maybe isn't clear. This one already kind of exciting. Open F file, and Alan, we'll see. I don't know, but it looks like it could be an attacking game for both sides. White has a lot of pieces in the attack. This bishop, again, is an issue here too, which is why he decides to push, because the problem is like, this knight is blocking the bishop, the pawn was blocking the bishop, you had to free it up somehow, and he frees up the diagonal, which I like a lot, the idea. Oh, and there's a fork, but at the end of it, also, this bishop just takes the bishop, so maybe now you take here, threatening to take here, so then, yeah. And now you don't really want to take with the pawn because it opens up your king, but I'm not really sure what else you do, so I think you do have to take. And the reason why you can't just take here, okay, or you can just allow your opponent to take. And the reason why you couldn't take there is because it just takes here with the fork. And in the end, black gets 2 pieces for a rook and a pawn. Okay, so grabbing up and file, I like it. We'll come back to this. Actually looks like a pretty promising position for Alan. Even though his opponent has a bishop pair, the king structure is much better for him. And these are really, really bad pawns. I mean, okay, pawn structure isn't the whole thing, but they're doubled pawns, they're 4 pawn islands. So, okay, and there's a tactic here somewhere. Let's see. Can you take the pawn? I think you can, because it looks like if you take the pawn, just bishop h7 check. What happens after bishop h7? King takes, queen takes d4, and then the engine says like 95. So then you just first, oh wow. Okay, so here's the idea. It's that after takes, at the end of it you have this move, attacking the pawn, and threatening a fork on the king and queen is the idea. So, kind of difficult actually. Yeah, so he takes the pawn, and it's going to get very complicated. Or he doesn't take the pawn, actually. Never mind. He doesn't take the pawn. He just goes back. Still a good position for black. Okay, let's move on to Nick's game. And already we see a huge time advantage for Derek. He actually has more time than he started with. Amazing, amazing. Oh, I like this position a lot from Nick. Amazing. And I like it a lot because look at these rooks here. Really keeping this rook passive, and also how are you defending the pawn? You're defending with the rook, but there are two rooks attacking, so it's going to be difficult to defend. So I actually like the position a lot for white. And yeah, looks like black's going to have to go more passive to try and defend this pawn, maybe like king f8. And you can't give a check here. You can't go queen a1 check, because the problem is after king d2, you'll have to either go back with more checks, or you'll lose defense of the pawn. Because you have to defend your queen somehow also, because that's also hanging. Because after the king moves, right, the queen's hanging. Okay, but now white's queen is hanging, so white has to find a way to defend it. Maybe I'll go like queen c3, but queen c3 is no good, because you just allow discoveries, so probably not. But he just plays queen d3. And queen d3, oh, allows bishop f5. Oh my goodness. And the problem with bishop f5, just to point it out, after bishop f5, it looks like there's some sort of trick with something else. But originally it looked like it'd be like rook takes b3, and you're opening up the diagonal so the queen can come in. But I don't see actually a mate there. So let's see. After bishop f5, it likes rook c8. Okay, it just likes doubling here. And then ultimately you're going to crash through. So it's a more long-term play, but yeah, at least he's up on the clock and his opponent's going to have to play faster. Okay, fortunately he plays bishop f5. It feels like a natural move, so it doesn't surprise me that he found it. Just attack the queen. Not just attack the queen, bring more pieces into the attack. That's the issue. But we'll see. We'll come back to this one as well. Now let's check out Ernesto's game. So Ernesto, again, a little bit worse out of the opening. And this is a problem we've seen a lot with him, as we mentioned. He doesn't get the best positions out of the openings. So I think that's something, if he's going to work on, it's going to have to be that. But, okay. Very fighting player anyway. At the end of games, he's gonna find a way to make counterplay. So we'll see. And it looks like this one came out of d4, d5. So a stone wall. So okay, interesting. But for white, so a stone wall. Usually you have this kind of setup with the pawns. But anyway, let's check out the position now. And the problem with the stone wall is always your bishop on the same color as the pawns usually doesn't get out very easily. But in this game, that doesn't look like a problem for white so much. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is tricky, right? Very tricky, because this bishop is not looking so great, and the rook is still pinned. So at some moment, black's just going to take the rook. He hasn't had to yet, but he will at some moment, and he'll be better. Okay, let's just go back to Derek's game. So Derek way up on the clock. This is insane. However, position again favors his opponent. Now there is compensation somewhat in that he has the bishop pair. So bishop pair is very strong because if you have only one bishop, for example, it can only cover half the squares. But the bishop pair together really covers a lot of squares. But not only that, it works really, really well with the rook. And he has a rook on the board and the bishop pair. So there's compensation for the exchange and a pawn. But if anyone's better here, absolutely white's better. Because having an extra pawn and having a rook and a knight for two bishops is still better. But there are still some chances for black. And having said that, this bishop here actually looks here. That's not a bishop. That's a knight. Looks pretty good. It just blocks his entire file, which is what you need to have. You need to block the position somewhat when you have rooks on the board, because open files and rooks go so well together. So you need to be able to block some things up if you don't have the rooks. And I like what Derek's doing here. If you're worse in the position, you have to play fast sometimes, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to try and get his opponent low on time, so he makes mistakes. And that's when he's going to have his chances. Okay, going to Alan's game. So Alan's game, his opponent has a bishop pair, just like in Derek's game, one of the players has it. But again, I think his position is actually okay, and it looks like he's actually up a pawn. So he has, this is classic double bishop compensation for a pawn. His opponent has, because his opponent is down a pawn, has the two bishops. So this is actually kind of a common thing. You see in a lot of chess games where there are imbalances, which is good for Alan, I think. Especially considering he's playing with white pieces. The fact that he has a pawn for it definitely is going to give him chances to win this. But it's an endgame. It's going to be complicated. They're both low on time, or they're both kind of similar on time. So I think bishop b7 here probably might be played. Okay, bishop d7. Yeah, bishop b7. Never mind. Bishop. Oh, actually, wait. Yeah, I'm not sure because it looked like there was some sort of tactic with rook e7, but I don't think there was. And even now, there's not. So okay, so let's switch over to Nick's game. So Nick's game. Wow, that's a lot of. That's kind of unfortunate actually for Nick because Nick here is down a queen. My guess is that he blundered it. Um, we can come back through the game, and yeah, he just resigns. Unfortunate for him, but I'm sure he fought very hard. Okay, so Ernesto's game, still the rook hasn't been taken, so that's actually pretty interesting. So, for like, it seems like the last 20 turns or so, this rook has been under attack, but hasn't been taken. I know it took almost 2 minutes on the last move, so that's probably why we haven't seen it taken yet. So kind of curious how this is going to go. And the issue for white is this is what's going to happen. Is black's going to take this rook, and then white's going to have to take back the queen, and we're going to see a queen trade. And the problem with that is you're going to be down in exchange, and the queens are going to be off the board. So there won't be as much opportunity for counterplay for white. So white's going to have the 2 bishops against, yeah, so white's going to have 2 bishops against the rook. So actually, I didn't realize, but white actually has 2 pieces for the rook. So maybe, I thought black had an extra piece, but he doesn't. So he doesn't have the exchange. So I think the only real issue for white is this pawn, this a pawn. If this a pawn comes off the board, I think white's better, but maybe, or white's equal at least. But the problem is the a pawn, because he's down a lot of pawns. I think 3. Yeah, he's down 3 pawns, and the rook is going to be very strong with this passed pawn, because the bishops can't team up on it. Because the bishops cover opposite colors, if you have any one square in particular, the bishops can't team up and both guard the same square. So anywhere you push the pawn, you might have to give up a bishop for the rook, for the pawn eventually, and the rook just takes, and then your opponent's better. But if you can manage to bring the king over, then you're able to defend. The issue is, in the time you're bringing the king over to the queen side to stop that one pawn, the rook's going to slide over to the other side of the board and attack your king side pawns, and then get his pawns rolling on that side of the board. And that's the issue we're going to see. And that's why I think that Ernesto's opponent is a little bit better here. Okay. So Derek's game. So Derek, what happened here? We were talking about how Derek's opponent was better, and all that was true, and it was true, but somehow, under time pressure, he's managed to make his opponent mess up, and somehow Derek's better. And Derek's better because of this pawn. And the reason why we didn't see a trade here is because after a trade of the rooks, where white actually picks up this pawn, black was too close with his king. It was just going to come here, pick up these pawns, and win the game, because these pawns are queening too fast. That's why white couldn't trade rooks. So I think black is actually in a very good position to win this game. Going to Alan's game. So Alan's game, oh, this is Alan's game. No, this is Ernesto's. Let's go to Alan's game, sorry. So Alan's game, again, still complicated game, where he's still up a pawn for the 2 bishops, and so it's just they both got lower on the clock. And it's going to be kind of tough because he's actually low on time. But I think his position is actually pretty good, but we'll see. It's going to come down to time scramble, and I think Alan's very good at time scrambles, so we'll see how that goes. Just want to quickly check out Ernesto's game again. So Ernesto's game, yeah, exactly the issue we thought we were going to have is these bishops managed to eventually pick up this queenside pawn, but by that time the rook has gone over, picked up the kingside pawns, and now the issue is, oh, yeah, just f6 check, and there's no way to keep defending your bishop, and now black's just winning. And black's winning because, first of all, a rook against a bishop is generally a draw, but it's not necessarily easy to draw. Okay, maybe it's not so hard, but now with 2 pawns on the board, eventually you're going to have to give up the bishop for a pawn. Maybe you'll get 2 pawns for the bishop, but then it's just a rook against a king. Rook's always going to win. Okay, and Derek actually managed to convert his advantage. So wow, and the problem is for white's getting mated. And the reason why white's getting mated here is after he picks up this pawn, this is just checkmate, and there's not a good way to defend. You can play like rook f4 check, but you're just giving up a rook at that point. Actually, you can also just play king c1, but after king c1, you're just pushing, and black's just going to win. Okay, so back to Ernesto's game. So Ernesto's game, so yeah, unfortunately for Ernesto, as we mentioned, kind of tough. So I'm not seeing a way forward for Ernesto. The pawns are just too strong, and yeah, it doesn't look good. Okay, so Alan's game. Maybe Alan has some chances, and I think if one of them manages to win, it could really help keep this match in hand, because if both matches end in a loss, both games end in a loss, it could be really, really tough. But okay, wow, wait, something happened here because Alan all of a sudden has really good position. Let's see. Engine really likes it. Okay, check. And wait, I think the rook fell. Wait, did I miss that? I, yeah. He walked right into a fork. Oh my goodness. 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 So Alan picked up a rook on this move, and just like that, he's much better. So yeah, much better. So if anyone's winning this, definitely Alan. I think he can convert it, but not a lot of time. It's not going to be easy. But managed to get out of all the threading. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Managed to get out of where both of his pieces were attacked by getting a check, picking up the bishop, trading bishops, and now black should be easily winning this. Amazing result. And actually, we can see he has a queen on the board. We're not able to keep up with the game anymore because they're moving so fast. And 2 queens, always enough to win. I think he's just going to have mate. But he always goes for tricky mates. But this time, just win. Just win, Alan. Oh no. Gives up a rook by mistake, but okay. He's going to mate his opponent anyway. It's not going to be an issue. I say that, it's going to be an issue, isn't it? But knight g6 check, or knight e6 check also is good. It's not mate in 1, it's mate in 2, I think. Okay? So let's another mate in 2. Alright, just end it. Unfortunately, Ernesto looks like he lost this game. We'll check out that in a second. Come on, Alan. Okay, now it's just me. Amazing turn of events there by Ellen. Uh, finding that fork on the king and the rook and picking up the rook. Ernesto's game didn't end so well for him. Unfortunately, just as we mentioned, the bishop eventually has to give itself up for the pawn. That's exactly what we see here. There's no way to stop the pawn. After the move like king g2, the pawn pushes. You give up the bishop for the pawn, and then it's just a pawn and a rook against a king, completely winning for black. So, going into the last round, it looks like, unfortunately for UFA, it's 7-5 UChicago B team. So really gonna have to turn it around in this last round. Have to go at least 3-1 to have a chance of winning this match. To tie it, it would be 3-1. So we have to really turn the ship around. And I think we can do it. We're gonna check out Nick's game first again, because Nick's games, as we mentioned, always get kind of exciting. And actually always kind of quickly, because he plays a style which is always kind of interesting. And that's exactly what we're going to see here. Sicilian defense, you have to play for a win. And if you're going to deal with any opening, it's going to be the Sicilian. That's exactly why we see that here. Okay, really quickly, we're going to have Derek's game starting as well. Derek is playing against Takaro Khan, and already out of the opening, something has gone wrong for black. Not only because of this engine innovation, but look at, going back through the game. Look at this attack for white. Already, white has like a pawn on g5. And look at this bishop. This bishop is just like amazing. And this queen's amazing. And wow, and then it says plus 12 on move 13. Something's gone horribly wrong for black. Just incredible. And yeah, white's completely winning. Already a mate in 9. Great result so far for Derek. If he manages to convert this, wow. And knight g6 checks. Look at this move. It feels like a move you want to play, because the problem is for black is cut off. So this bishop is cutting off all of these squares. So the idea after knight g6 check is after h takes g6, you want to just go rook g4. The idea being, this is actually a common mating pattern. So the idea, and even rook g4 first, the idea behind this move is you're going to go here with check, and if this pawn is off the board, or here, after you take the knight, this is just mate. And the reason why is the bishop cuts off this entire diagonal. So that's the issue that black's having, and that's exactly the mating attack white has. But it's maybe difficult to see right away why this is so strong. And the reason why rook g4 and not rook g3 is because after rook g4, you have this square, and this square can't be covered. This square can be, because you can move the knight away, and then the bishop covers the square. That's why rook g4, and that's why this attack is working so well. It's hard to find though, and that's why Derek's actually thinking, and that's why you actually see him lower on the clock, because he can feel something there. That's the thing about really strong players, is they'll feel attacks like this. So he finds the wrong move. He sees the right idea, but finds the wrong move, because I think he misses that after this move, the bishop actually covers the square. So that is a bit unfortunate, but he's still much better in the game. And again, as I was mentioning, with really strong players, sometimes they can just feel when something's right. That's why he spends a minute, finds the move, and goes for the attack. And yeah, we see exactly that. The bishop has to open up. It's your only option. You have to defend h3 square with your bishop against the rook. Okay, but great start for Derek. We'll see how that game goes. But checking out Alan's game really quickly. And Alan actually is also playing very attacking chess. This is exactly what we needed. Because if we want to win this match, we have to really go on the attack. Because we have to win these games, right? And Alan, what we notice here is pushing the h-pawn on with his castle's king. And the thing about this is in a lot of positions you don't want to do this. And you don't want to do it because it opens up your king. But in this position, it's not so much a problem. And it's not so much a problem because what we notice here is actually this pawn structure kind of locks in this queen. So this queen can't come into the attack. And not only that, but black has knights. And knights don't move across the board super well. They're kind of slow, right? And these knights are on the queen side. So to bring them over the king side is not an easy task. So you can't really attack the king. And it's also hard to defend your own king. So that's why I really like the position for Alan so far. And these knights also, how are they getting into the game? Because these pawns these pawns and this bishop together do an amazing job at covering all the entry squares. Like this square is covered for this knight, and this square is covered, this square is covered, this square is covered for this knight. So I really like his position a lot. Because even though he's opening up his own king a little bit, and okay, he's not up material or anything, the position looks very good for white. Even though he's not a pawn. I like the position a lot. Okay. Ernesto's game. So Ernesto, wow, look at that tactic. Grabbing a pawn, so it looks like you're just giving up a full piece, but after the pawn takes, this knight's going to hang. So that's the idea. And you also have to calculate out after queen takes knight, there's no discovery here. Because if the king, for example, or if this bishop actually were on this square, you might have an idea like bishop takes h7, the idea being you're opening up a discovery on the queen, but because this bishop is here, there's no actual attack there. There's no discovery. That's the point. Okay, and already black looks a little better here. So actually a really good start for UFA. If we wanted to start at all, if we wanted a good start, this is exactly what we're getting. Oh, and Derek wins. And he finds the move. Amazing. He plays rook g6. Wow. Because his opponent has to defend somehow. His opponent pushes f5, and the problem is after f5, what we notice is this bishop is no longer defending, and there's just mate. And it is the classic mating pattern. And it's amazing to see when on an actual game, because after takes, there's just mate on the board, and that was a forced sequence right there. So amazing, amazing, amazing play by Derek, and it's a beautiful, beautiful checkmate. So we love to see that. All right, checking out Nick's game. So right now, actually, it's 7-6, so a chance to come back, but we've already had our top board play. Nick's position is actually also very good. I'm impressed because he's playing against top board. So, or not, he's playing against the bottom board actually, but still much stronger player in terms of rating. And the engine likes his position. I like his position too. And the reason why is just look at the pawns. He has more pawns than the opponent by 2. It's 6 pawns to 4 pawns. Looks pretty good. This is a good move. It's a very interesting move because you're giving a fork here. And I didn't like it, but I think it's practically a good decision because you're picking up the exchange. And if the rook takes, then it's just queen takes. So there was some move here. I'm not sure what. I'm probably just takes and then takes here. Just queen takes d6 right away. Queen takes d6. Oh, so the problem is after queen takes d6, you have to play queen takes d6 because your queen is hanging, or else he's just going to pick up the queen. So after you trade queens, this knight hangs. So you just have 3 pawns for a piece. But wow! Wow, 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 wow. This game is getting crazy. Okay, but I do like black's position. And we'll see. Okay, but that's how this game is going. There's actually a trick here at a moment for white to win a piece, but he doesn't go for it. And right now, black looks like he's a little bit better because he's up a few pawns. This pawn's falling because after the knight moves, this pawn's going to be under attack, and there's no way to defend it. But black's still a little better, so that's good. Alright, checking out Alan's game. So Alan, still very much in the attack. I like this a lot. Wow, what happened here? So, as we noticed, yeah, exactly this, right? The knights can't defend. You bring in all your pieces into the attack, and black has to make moves. Black moves the pawn up to try and defend. You can take en passant, but even better, you can just take on g6. And after taking on g6, this pawn is going to be weak, and white's attacking. And that's exactly why we see white go back here, try and target this pawn. But not just target this pawn, because originally you're already putting pressure. But you want to try and get your rook and queen lined up, maybe. Or even better yet, just like make a move like this eventually. And then just like, after your pawn takes, you want to try and get your queen up to here. And that's the entire plan, probably. Something like that. Or better yet, he just wanted to use the f4 square for his knight. But he did allow this pawn to become pretty strong. So, I don't know. He's still better, but it's not so easy. Not so easy. Probably, yeah, knight f6 check. And now he's, okay, now he should be in the driver's seat. He should be winning this game. But how do you win it? It's always difficult, right? How do you convert a winning position? Probably rook h3? Yeah, rook h3. You have to play. You have to line up this attack. And probably the only move now for black is probably something like rook h8. But after rook h8, there's knight h5. Okay. Okay, after rook h8, it says, and this is knight h5. I was also thinking about a move maybe like knight h7, block the rook, so you can take the pawn. I think both ideas might be good, but yeah, definitely. There might be something wrong with that after like king takes g6, but okay, rook takes, I'm not sure. But definitely a good attack for Ellen. So here, in this one, already we see Ernesto actually in a much better position. So there's a chance, an outside chance, that because right now UFA is better on all boards. If we manage to convert all those advantages, we win on the spot. We don't even have to go into tie breaks. But it's hard to win all the games. It's really hard to win all the games. It happens, but it's hard. And we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, exactly that's happening in the game. Rook h8. And okay, white's better. I mean, white's better. White has to find the right moves though. Knight h5 check. So that would be here. So after check there, oh yeah, the king can't really return here because after returning there, you can just push actually, I think. Because now the idea is after this, and the king goes back, right, this pawn now has this square, and this rook is stuck. And the problem is if now the rook goes here, what we actually see is like the king is on this square, right? So we're going to try and draw this out as best we can. So the king is on this square, the rook's on this square, the knight is here, and then the knight can go there, forking these two. And so that is just brutal. And then once that happens, you're going to take, and then this pawn is going to hang at the end of it because the rook now is going to open up. So that's a lot to see ahead, but I can't really play it out on the board, but hopefully you kind of see some of that. And yeah, this is really, really good attack for white. Amazing move being played by Alan. So Derek and Alan, just great attacking chess in this last game. We love to see it. Okay, going back to Nick's game. Speaking of attacking chess, like games always get crazy, and I don't know. This game looks tough, but okay, maybe actually Ernesto's the bottom board. So, but not Nick, like I said earlier, but both very strong players, of course. So there's really no such thing as bottom board in this match, because everyone's strong. But okay, here, all right. Now the engine actually prefers white. But time is still a problem, and I think practically it's hard to win, right? White's better, and the reason why the engine says white is better is because it is better. White's up the exchange, and not only is white up the exchange, and by the exchange I mean he has a rook for a piece. Not only is he up the exchange, but these rooks are on the 7th rank, which is attacking the king. But there are situations, and this might be one of them, where having the rooks on the 7th can be somewhat detrimental. And the reason why is you might run into some problems because you allow your opponent to kind of get in and create counterplay on the other side of the board. This is a very smart move though, because once you attack the bishop, if this bishop ever leaves this diagonal, here, this square becomes weak, and then the rooks can start giving checks. And this is why rooks are so strong on the 7th rank, is because they can give checks like this, and you can never really escape them, because if you try to, at some moment, if you try and run your king over, then just the rook is going to give a mate. But okay, there's still something here where these pawns are pushing forward. And there was a moment here a minute ago where the engine actually really liked bishop b8. Wow. Wow. Bishop b8. That's crazy. Because now this rook actually... Wow. So the problem is this rook is actually trapped. So it has the entire row to go to, but no squares are good. So that's the reason why engine like bishop e. But okay, now white's winning. So unfortunately for Nick, it looks like he gave up a whole piece and he might be struggling. So we're gonna have to really root on Alan here. And Alan looks like he's better, but somehow something went wrong. So something went wrong, maybe? I don't know. The attack's gone, but he is still up a queen for a rook, so he's still better. He's still completely winning, actually. He's completely winning, but he's not mating, so something went somewhat wrong, but not completely wrong. Game should still be winning, and maybe he just simplified, because after you simplify, game becomes even easier to play. So I was wrong to say something went wrong. It felt like something did for a moment. The engine said it did, it looked like, but no, not at all. Actually, wow, look at this. Can't take because the pawn's pinned. And yeah, white is much better, so white should be winning. Yeah, looks like mate's coming. So yeah, and black resigns. Alan, hey, Alan had me wrong. Like I thought, oh, he's worse, but he's not worse. Much better. So now all UFA needs is we need to win one of these games. And it looks like Ernesto. Oh, Ernesto might be having this one. Because these pawns, oh yeah, there's no way to stop them. You trade the rooks, push the B pawn, and win. Because now you're gonna queen. Black wins. So hopefully, we'll watch him convert. We want to make sure he converts it. Oh, looks like unfortunately Nick lost his game via checkmate. So we needed a win here from Ernesto to draw the match. Looks like he's gonna win it, but he has to actually convert it. Let's see. Don't stalemate. If you stalemate, oh boy, almost, but not quite. We see checkmate, and somehow UFA comes from behind and ties the match up in the last round in game 4, and suddenly we have a tie match on our hands. So what's gonna happen now? I think we're gonna have a tiebreak, but really, really, really exciting finish to this one. Oh my goodness. Okay, so after the match is tied, and I'm pretty sure we have the same matchups as in the last round, which bodes well for Team UFA because this was the only round in which we actually had the advantage. We won more games than our opponents. But not only that, really, really clutch playing. Like really, really under pressure and managed to figure it out, managed to find a way to win the match, or to win the matches, the games, not the match, but win the games to tie the match. So wow, really impressive stuff. Really happy to see this. I was worried for a minute, but great, great, great playing by Ernesto. Ernesto, always good at finding those tricks at the end. And yeah, Derek, unbelievable checkmate here. And Alan as well, really converted his advantage. I was concerned he didn't, just looking at the engine, but engine knows nothing compared to what Alan knows. And also maybe it was just switching over. But okay, great, great result here. But it looked like very complicated to win. But okay, yeah, that the problem was the pin. I mean, you're just winning the queen. Right? Okay, great result there. And now let's see what happens next. I'm pretty sure that there's a tie break. I'm gonna have to figure that out for you guys. I'm not entirely sure how this is gonna work out. But yeah, it's a tie match. So this is actually a really good result for us considering what happened going into the last round. But stay here, I'll try and get updated information for you guys about what's going to happen. Looks like we're going to go right into tiebreak. And here's the interesting thing about tiebreak is a tiebreak is a bullet tiebreak. It's not even blitz. So bullet is lower time control. So what we see here actually, or not, I thought we were having a bullet, but okay, wrong time control. As Joe Bruin is the commissioner of the league. So the way this goes, I forgot, but now I remember. You have a blitz tiebreak first. If it's still tied at the end of the blitz, you go into bullet tiebreak. But we have to do blitz tiebreak first. I'm pretty sure blitz is like 3-2 or something. Bullet doesn't happen until after. So we might see a bullet tiebreak. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully UFA takes it home right here. Yeah, 3-2. Exactly that. So let's see. We're going to see how this goes. But really, really excited. Yeah, they're correcting the link. Let me just check. Okay, here. Alright, checking out what's going on. Really excited about how this tiebreak is going to go. So they're fixing a link right now because it's supposed to be a blitz tiebreak. They set it up as bullet, but bullet comes after blitz. So we'll see. But really, can't get enough of this chess action because My oh my, is this going to get exciting. And I think if anyone, going into this match, I really think that even though UF lost their last match, I think that uh, they were probably somewhat of favorites going into this match because in the regular season they had the best, they just played so well. Um, the Team UFA did. They lost their first match of the whole season and did not lose again until last week. In fact, beating the team that they lost to yesterday at some point during the season. So it's been a great season for them. But this is the second time they've tied after a match. But this is the first time we've had to go into tiebreaks because during the regular season there were no tiebreaks. Ties were okay, but here can't have a tie. It's for third place, all or nothing. And actually, here's what's interesting though, is the UChicago team yesterday had to play a tiebreak in their semifinals match, and they actually played double overtime. So if anyone has experience here, it's UChicago. If anyone has the ability to win, I'm going UFA all the way. Okay, looks like they've started. So let's check out the games. We're going to start on Ernesto's game first. And Ernesto's game, yes, I'm still here. Chess.com. Yes, we're going to start on Ernesto's game. And Ernesto's game looks like a Sicilian, an open Sicilian on the board. So yeah, this is a position that it's pretty common. It's a dragon, and the reason it's called dragon is for some reason black's position looks like a dragon. You know, one time I was shown it, but I didn't see it. Still don't. But okay, that's not the point. We want to see the chess. And all right, so this is going to be a very sharp game. Sharp as in both teams are going to have, or both players are going to have opportunities in the game. That's generally how the Sicilian dragon works. The idea for white, usually in the dragon, is actually castle queen side, and like start moving your pawns on the king side to attack the black king. That's not what we see here. We actually see both sides castle king side. This is kind of like how Bobby Fischer used to like to play his against the Sicilian himself. Not quite in this line, like, but he often would castle kings. Okay, engine likes black, lower time control or faster time control. So we'll see how this goes. Let's quickly switch over to Nick's game. And Nick, all right, so Nick, that's a little bit of an issue, I think, I guess, is like he complicates the position so much, and sometimes he gets a little bit low on the clock. But yeah, it definitely creates chances for him. And so we're going to see, maybe he'll find a way to win this. I don't know. Okay, Derek's game. So Derek, remember in the last one, I know his opponent definitely wants a little bit of revenge, because in the last game, Derek, my oh my, what an attack. But here, it's going to be a lot more solid. It's going to be a lot more solid. And, alright, so it looks like Alan's game is going to start as well. So we have all 4 games going now. So quickly checking Alan's game, he's going to play French. So the French defense, I don't know. It's an interesting one, and already kind of cramped, but he's, his opening, so we'll see. He's going to try and break in the center with the move that he just played with c5. Alright, and this one, Ernesto, looks pretty good. I think, yeah, definitely a good idea to double rooks on the d file, like he's trying to do. Trying to bring his rook over here, double, exactly. But probably a trade, yep. A trade, and maybe his opponent will go rook d8, trade off the other pair of rooks, we'll see. But, I don't know. This game, slightly better for white, maybe because of the pawn structure. But black's going to break the pawn structure just like this probably, try and do something like this, and it'll loosen up all the pawns on this side of the board. That's the idea. So that's why he plays a3. So a3, and hard to say how much of an advantage there is, but okay. Wow, look at this. Look at this. Engine wants him to play bishop takes c3. That's a move. You'd think it's defended twice. Wow, I don't think he's going to play that. That would be very, very difficult to see. But okay. Yeah, I guess after takes, yeah, it's hard to take back. So, I don't know. But yeah, also a good move, b3. But you give up the pawn. But probably rook c2, and then you pick up the pawn anyways, the idea. Alright, let's move on to Alan's game. Oh, actually, we were just at Alan's game. Let's try out Nick's game. So Nick's game, oh no, so Nick's in a little bit of trouble here. He just had to give up the exchange. Just had to give up a piece for the rook. But he does have an attack, and in faster time controls, having the initiative or being able to attack your opponent is more important than it is in slower time controls because it's harder to find the moves to defend. So, and again, checkmate is more important than having more pieces than your opponent, right? Because if you checkmate, the game's over. If you have more pieces, you still have to play on. So definitely, still chances, regardless of what the engine says here, for Nick. Going back to Derek's game. So Derek, this is surprising. So Derek actually lower on the clock, but better in the position. So it's kind of reversed from sometimes what we see with Derek. But faster time controls, my guess is this opponent probably plays more of these faster time controls and is more prepared specifically for this kind of format. And them playing the tiebreaker match yesterday probably prepared them pretty well. So we're seeing how this is going to go. But I do like Derek's position somewhat, because even though it's bishop against knight, he is looks like he is a pawn. This queen and rook on the e file look pretty good, right? They're just targeting all the squares here. There's no threat in the position because the bishop actually covers pretty well any checks that, because after a check, right, the king would have to step up to here, and the bishop covers any checks. So nothing concrete, but still looks good. Let's check out Ernesto's game again. So Ernesto looks pretty solid. But the thing is, the difference in all these games is they're much more, for both sides, actually, in all these games, they're looking a lot more solid and kind of even, where no side is really like, there's some imbalances, but for the most part, there aren't really any attacks going on in these games, which is kind of surprising in this one, considering it came from a dragon, from the Open Sicilian. Okay, let's go back to Nick's game, because it's hard to stick with just one game. But okay, yeah, you want to attack the bishop. He's up on time, and this is exactly what he needed to do, because notice how the position is still complicated. He's worse in the position, but again, the clock is going to be the issue here, and that's why it's good that he has his opponent lower on the clock, try and complicate positions so something can go wrong. There is an issue, and the issue here right now is this knight is really hard to defend, and the plan for black is very simple. He wants to go here, take the knight. So that's why he has to go rook h1, have to get the rook into the defense somehow, or not just the defense, you have to create counterplay, right? You have to create counterplay somehow, and get, once you get pieces into the attack. So you had to create counterplay. It's the only way. That's exactly what we're seeing. But it's going to be really hard. Really, really hard for Nick. And honestly, Nick has performed very well for his rating. He's really giving a fight to every player. Okay, Derek, really low on time. This is really unusual to see him this low on time when his opponent has so much more time. It means his opponent has made his life really difficult in the game. And he might have to try and find some sort of perpetual, which I'm not sure if his opponent is even going to give him, so not looking great in this one. And Nick's position, not looking so great either. So we're going to have to see how Alan and Ernesto's game pan out. And Alan actually, we spent a little less time here because we started later. But position looks very, very good. And it looks very good because this king isn't castle. It's stuck in the middle of the board, and there's an attack on it. This pawn is good, yes, but black, I mean, just opening the diagonal for the bishop seems very reasonable. It looks like there's something better, though. And let's see what that was. Actually, just rook takes h7. So rook takes h7, probably with the idea of, yeah, queen takes and g5. So right now, you want to, and the reason why is after takes, and then queen takes, and then takes here, you're threatening this move, which is actually checkmate. So that's the plan. But okay, that's not what happened in the game. In the game, we see a different result kind of play out. So, still, Alan's better. And, oh no! And Derek loses. Oh my goodness. And he loses by timeout, and that's so rough. The top board for UF, after winning an amazing, amazing, amazing game in the last round, unfortunately, just was too low on the clock, couldn't find the moves, and oh no. It looks like this move defends everything, but it doesn't, because this is a pin, and it's just a win for white. So unfortunate results, but hey, the lower boards can definitely play on, and unfortunately Ernesto, oh no, Ernesto fails to stop all the pawns, it looks like, or, yeah, or, does he lose on, no, he's just down material. Unfortunate result. Okay, that means Nick has to win, and Alan also has to win, so it's going to be really hard for Nick, though. His position is not looking so great, and he has to really probably flag his opponent. Might be the only hope. Because the position is not one, I mean, maybe, oh, there's a fork. No, but the bishop covers it, never mind. I was thinking knight here, attacking the queen and the king, but alas, that's not going to happen. And unfortunately, he hangs his rook, and the only chance we have now is if Max loses internet connection. But now, the match is actually over now, because even if he loses internet connection, there are not enough pieces on the board to win the game. So this match, at worst, at best, can end in a draw. So it looks like, unfortunately, UChicago B is going to win the match, regardless of what happens in Alan's game. So in Alan's game, looks like Alan actually could win this, but it's just not going to be enough. Just not going to be enough. So yeah, looks like Alan's winning. But unfortunately for UFA, it's been a tough day. We're going to watch the end of the Alan game because we want to end this on a high note. So hopefully he managed to find something to win. So we'll watch the end of his game. Actually, he's given up a little bit of his advantage. Did he just blunder a piece? Oh no, Alan. Notice here, the idea is that this knight is actually kind of defending this knight, because this knight's undefended. So once you move this one hangs because it's not defended by a pawn, whereas this one is. Problem is, he moves the knight, and then hangs it. Okay, still, black's better. He's black's up a pawn in a minor piece endgame, which could be enough to win, but it's not easy to win. So it's not so clear, right, how this one will end. But okay, unfortunately though, yeah, Nick's game ends in checkmate against his king. Okay. But we'll watch the end of. Oh, something happened here in Alan's game. So, okay, wow, an opportunity to push the pawns on the queen side. And the thing that the reason why black has an advantage here is because this pawn here, right, is difficult to stop. So you have to kind of like use your pieces, like move your pieces over towards the king side or over towards the queen side. Like your king and bishop have to keep an eye on this pawn. So in the meantime, black's gonna try and sneak in on the queen on the king side, on the left side of the board, right? So black's gonna try and sneak in over here, oops, like with this king, right, to the left, and pick up the pawns. And once he does that, once he manages to pick up these pawns, then he can start pushing these pawns. So I think the way to win this is try and maybe use this as a decoy almost, where white has to really defend. But the good news for white is that white's actually able to defend by just blocking with the bishop. And when you block with the bishop, now it's difficult, right? Because you just can't ever push this pawn forward like you want to. But black's still better because black has a chance. But unfortunately, there's repetition of moves because there's no way to make no easy way to make progress for white or for black, and unfortunately, he just has to repeat moves and make a draw. So black's better here, but it's unfortunate. No real way to break through. You see a draw by threefold repetition. So when you repeat the position 3 times, the same circumstances, like now the second castle, for example, or like you couldn't if you could castle in the first one. Okay, like the same position with same rules apply in all of them. Then it's a draw. That's exactly what we see here. So unfortunately, Alan not able to win, and even more unfortunate, UFA unable to win the match. They drew the match, but on tie breaks were unable to win. And unfortunately, the match ends there, and this is the end of the season. So 4th place is not bad. Nothing to hang our heads about. Great season for UFA. Really proud of you guys. Amazing job today to just come back and force a tiebreak. Really proud of you all. Great result. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way in the end, but really proud of how we performed this season. How like you guys all did today. Could have ended better, but unfortunately, that's how chess is sometimes. Appreciate everyone watching, and this will be up on the YouTube later. And yeah, I guess it's the end of the season. So signing off for the final time this season. This has been a really fun season to watch, and I guess that's about it. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a nice day.